Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I'm back with part 3 of What If Deku had a Puppeteer Quirk. And shout out to y'all who have been enjoying the video or the series so far. I hope y'all continue to enjoy it. It's going to be a couple more parts, maybe a total of 6, maybe a total of 5. I haven't really made that decision yet. But like I said, I hope y'all enjoy. I hope y'all continue to enjoy. I got more stuff coming. I got a new now Fumi What If coming as well, so I hope y'all enjoy that. And yeah, I'm trying to stay on this daily trend to make sure, just like how I used to back in the day. So yeah, that's about it. I don't need to say much more. And yeah, let's get right into the What If. Let's get it. From the very beginning, Izuku realized something. That he could feel this connection between him and his quote-unquote puppets. But it's far different when you have someone that has some sort of a consciousness. It's far different when you can feel what they feel. Izuku quickly would use this to his advantage, and that would be with the one and only Kurogiri. Kurogiri is sort of like a Nomu, but a Nomu that has a dormant person within, someone that is still there, but is sitting there idle, not able to move, not even an inch. Izuku realizes this, and knows this for a matter of fact, and then continues to try and poke and pry into, well, this person's mind. After a long period of time, days in fact, he would finally get within his mind. Get within this person's brain, and he begins to speak with him. He learns of this guy's name, named to be Oboro. He's not sure who this is, not 100% entirely, but he does quickly learn that there is a connection with UA and there is a connection with Aizawa. Soon, Izuku would continue this process, poking, prying, and eventually he would be able to rip Oboro out of quote-unquote Kurogiri, separating them entirely. This then leaves a metal body that is nothing. A metal body that collapses to the ground, and the existence of Kurogiri itself no longer is there. Oboro is Kurogiri, and Kurogiri was Oboro. In a way, him stripping Oboro out changes everything, changes that Nomu that was created. Izuku collapses to the ground after ripping a human being out of its own consciousness, and he begins to pant. He's completely shocked to see that this person was truly in there, and everybody around him is in complete awe. Izuku may not know who this is, but everyone else does. It's as if they've seen a ghost that has finally come back from the dead. And everyone is shocked, but soon Aizawa would finally come. Seeing Oboro once again, he begins to have feelings and emotions that he's never had in his life, begins to cry, and begins to basically freak out in a way. But luckily, Oboro is still conscious, and luckily now all it really takes is for some, well, reminding. And once Izuku and Aizawa are able to get through to Oboro, now there's information that nobody else would even know, but Oboro does. Now this is something that they needed, and this is something that they really truly wanted to have an advantage, a big advantage on, well, the villains. Of course, Izuku would be still going to school during this time, but a mass majority of his time would be spent trying to separate Oboro and help them out. Eventually, that would occur, like I said, but he would miss out on some crucial moments and some crucial things. When he would get back, he wouldn't have an internship to go to. Unluckily enough, he just wasn't able to participate, so he was put in a situation where he isn't able to, well, do anything too major. But as a thank you from basically Aizawa himself, Aizawa takes on a student in him, takes on Izuku as his own student to train him to his best possibility. On top of that, basically teaching him martial arts and basically learning how to fight single targets on his own. Sometimes he won't have a puppet. sometimes he won't be able to basically do anything if there is nothing around. So being able to protect himself basically by himself is something that Izuku needs to more or less do. During this time, Izuku would continue training and learning, but after a couple of days would pass, well, let's just say something tragic would occur. The hero killer, for one, would be captured, but at the sacrifice of the one and only Tenya Ida. Tenya Ida, a student and classmate of Izuku, classmate of Class 1A, would be taken down and killed, well, by the hero killer, unfortunately. The death of Tenya Ida would get back to Izuku relatively quickly, but he would remember. Maybe he could somehow bring him back, maybe he could. It's just not possible. Izuku wanted to be optimistic, but there's no way. With Oboro, it was different. It was someone that existed, someone that was there, dormant. With Ida, he's just gone. He could use Ida as a puppet, but I mean, how moral is that? I mean, how could he even think about doing something like that? And it wouldn't be bringing him back to life. It would basically be using someone that has no soul anymore within him. Izuku is pretty disappointed by this, and Aizawa does comfort him mildly, telling him that this is the line of work that they chose, and that these are the consequences of being a hero. With that said, everyone else and all of Class 1A would arrive back into the class. The mood is somber, but they are told that they have things to do and they need to use this as motivation. Quickly, they're told about the exams, final exams in fact, what they need to do and what needs to be done. Izuku begins his studying process and many others do as well, eventually getting done with the written portion of the exam. After the written portion is done though, the practical then arrives. Izuku feels that this practical has to be something different than just robots, and he would be correct. Eventually they would arrive at their giant gym, and they would be told that the practical will be against teachers. Everyone would be told who they are going against, but then it's Izuku's turn. But there's one person left, Bakugo. But who's the teacher? There's nobody else that's here. Just as they say this, All Might comes crashing down, standing in front of all of them, saying that he is here and that he will be the opponent of Izuku and Bakugo. Now this is a fight that Izuku was interested in, was not necessarily worried about, but wanted to see where he was at in terms of fighting capabilities. On top of that, a new puppet is made for him, something even stronger than the last one, and Izuku is able to utilize, or hopefully would be able to utilize, this puppet against All Might. Planning would begin, but more like lack of planning would begin when Bakugo would refuse to hear anything Izuku has to say and refuses to hear him out. So the plan is kind of just run in and hope for the best. When the gates swing open, Bakugo goes charging out. Izuku follows close behind, trying to keep up the best he possibly can, but he basically watches as Bakugo charges in extremely recklessly. And, well, it doesn't go well off the rip. All Might immediately sends a shockwave of wind toward them, sending them off flying. Izuku recovers relatively quickly and goes right back at All Might as Bakugo charges forward. Bakugo tries to blast All Might right in the face, but just as Bakugo is about to do so, Izuku immediately uses his quirk to basically stun All Might slightly as he gets as an explosion basically lands clean to All Might's face. As this basically explosion would land on All Might's face, All Might would be shocked. It's as if he was completely stuck in place and he couldn't really guard to it. Yeah, All Might does just stand there and take hits, but when he's basically put off guard, it definitely does a far bit more damage. Izuku continues to do this throughout the fight and tries to help Bakugo fight All Might, But after a while, it's pretty obvious that physically Bakugo will not be able to keep up. Izuku helps out with his puppet as well, and he's happy to see that the puppet can take a punch from All Might and doesn't get it completely obliterated. Izuku continues the fight with Bakugo, actually intertwining all three of their attacks at the same time: his puppet, Bakugo's attack, and his own attacks. He continues to fight All Might, but it seems like they're basically playing this losing battle. It seems that everything is seemingly going downhill to the point that it doesn't really feel like they've really got a chance. Which, in a way, is pretty true. Bakugo sits there and refuses to run and refuses to go away, and it's pretty obvious that during this practical exam, they should just try and escape. So Izuku decides that he's going to make the decision for both of them. He gets frustrated with Bakugo not wanting to take the, well, quote-unquote easy way out, or the more tactical way out, in fact. So he gets frustrated and he stuns All Might immediately with his Quirk and holds him in place. As he does this, he sends his puppet after All Might to grapple with him and grab him and get him stuck basically in place entirely. He immediately uses his Quirk on Bakugo and slings Bakugo toward the exit, as Izuku begins to hold All Might still, and he basically holds him there as long as possible. Bakugo refuses to go and refuses to basically escape and get help, so Izuku immediately forces him to go back as he takes a punch straight to the jaw from All Might, getting flung backwards as he's pretty damn hurt. The puppet wasn't able to take the blow this time around, and unfortunately he took a good punch, which leaves him heavily staggered. But Bakugo sees this happening and bites his pride, or basically, hunkers down on his pride and escapes through the doorway of some sorts. Izuku looks over as he gets up, and his puppet immediately protects him from All Might. He grabs onto the side of his puppet as they take off away from All Might. Over and over again, Izuku would slightly use his Quirk to stun All Might from basically keeping up, but Izuku is getting extremely fatigued, tired, and he's already extremely hurt. So eventually, both of them would be able to escape. They do technically pass, and both of them technically pass, but Aizawa talks about how they really need to get their own ideas under wraps. Making plans, especially in this world, is important, extremely important. He tells them though that they're lucky that they passed and that they're going to the forest training camp anyways, but they need to realize these things before things get worse. Izuku agrees as he stumbles his way to Recovery Girl, but he sees the face of Bakugo, and it seems like Bakugo does not care one bit. Bakugo doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to, well, you could say, help out, and he wants to do his own thing. He doesn't need help from a weakling like Izuku. He's just frustrated and pissed off, and Izuku just doesn't say anything else. The next day, everyone heads off to the forest training camp, and they would arrive to a bit of a cliff's edge. They would actually meet the Wild Pussycats, and Izuku being Izuku, I mean, he's still a pretty big fanboy of all heroes, so he's basically tells them that he's a big fan, so on and so forth. But eventually it would lead to them seeing the Class 1B bus skating on right by. Now what does this mean? Oh, it means they're all getting pushed off this mountain and basically are getting a good luck. They all get sent off the mountain, and they have to fight through a horde of these monster-like creatures that are made from, well, the ground. It seems like one of the Wild Pussycat's quirks actually makes these so-called monsters. Luckily, Izuku and everyone else is well prepared for all of this, so they were able to push through all these monsters relatively easily and relatively quickly. But they still get there pretty late compared to when they were supposed to be there. But when they arrive, they're told that they're allowed to get cleaned off, eat some food, get some rest, so on and so forth. Of course, after that is said and done, the next day would be when real training begins. The real training that would involve them just trying to execute their quirks even better. Izuku listens to Aizawa as he tells everybody what they need to do and what they need to basically get out of this training, in which Izuku learns that him personally, he just needs to be able to have a connection with multiple things at once, and he needs to work on that. So Aizawa actually brought some other puppets, some that aren't super strong or anything like that, but it will allow him to make these connections stronger and with more things. Izuku thinks this is a great idea, and if he holds this for long periods of time, it should build up a bit of a powerful regard for himself. So he does just that. He begins to basically use his quirk on multiple things at once and tries to focus as hard as possible. In doing this, it allows him to build his stamina and allows him to build his strength especially with his quirk. About a week would pass throughout this time, and actually no villains would show up, especially obviously because of the lack of Kurogiri. No villains would show up at all, and they would just go off home after this long period of training pretty safe. It seems like when they all hop on the bus, they all have made substantial strides to getting far stronger, in which everyone is extremely excited about, and Aizawa won't show it, but he is excited about it as well. His students are growing at a rapid pace, and this is always good for a teacher to see. With that said though, when they hop on the bus and head back, they begin to see some things that are going on. They begin to listen to the radio about some sort of villain attack in a nearby city in Japan, but it's odd. What's going on? It doesn't feel like some normal villain attack. No, there's no way. It's more than that, right? And as they arrive in the scene, everything is desolate and everything is changed, and they see All Might himself on the TV fighting All For One. Izuku sees this and believes that they need to help him. Yeah, they should get to safety, but they need to help All Might. Why aren't the other heroes helping him? In which, obviously, Aizawa makes it pretty clear that it seems that they don't really stand a chance against All For One. It's all up to All Might. Izuku shakes his head and thinks this is ridiculous. What if they take advantage of that? What if they decide to take out All Might with more help? Well, what if people start teaming up on All Might? This is a big idea that Izuku is worried about, and that would come to fruition when multiple villains begin to intrude on the battle with All For One. These villains, or the League of Villains, would begin to intrude on this battle and turn the tide for All For One, to the point that there seems to be no chance at all. Nomus would begin to arrive to help All For One, as well as the League of Villains would be courted out to basically safety, because All For One knows that they need to be alive to guarantee basically their win or success. Izuku sees this and immediately would head off, would leave, in which Aizawa tries to stop him, but there is no stopping Izuku at this point. He takes his puppet and begins to move extremely fast, faster than most people can actually move on their own. Aizawa, in a way, is proud of Izuku, especially with how far he's come to this point and how strong he's obviously become. When Izuku arrives, he sees the Nomus trying to basically back All Might into a corner, and All Might is basically down to his last legs. But the one main issue that they didn't realize is that Izuku not only got stronger, but he can now control multiple things at once. All For One believed that he was able to change the fact that Izuku would be able to more or less control these Nomu, but that's not the case. He did not do enough. All For One underestimated Izuku. Now this is an issue. He underestimated Izuku to the point that, well, let's just say he's able to control all the Nomus that are currently trying to fight All Might. He turns them against All For One, basically attacking All For One all at once. All Might, using his last bit of strength, uses everything he has to try and be rid of All For One. All For One kills all of the Nomus in one foul swoop, using a mechanism that he knew he would need it built in just in case. But that's not the only thing that ends, or that's not the only thing that changes relatively quickly. All For One sees that Izuku is on the battlefield and that he is the catalyst for what's going on. He is the catalyst for the reason why things are getting swayed in that direction. So immediately All For One sends tendrils towards Izuku, and not being quick enough and already being tired out from controlling 5 to 6 Nomus, Izuku looks on as the tendrils go flying at him, about to kill him. All For One is about to kill Izuku. But no, out of nowhere, Izuku looks up to see All Might in front of him, taking the tendrils through his chest, but stopping them as they shatter. All For One just killed All Might. All Might lays there on the ground bleeding, and Izuku tries to help him. But All Might looks at Izuku and looks back at All For One, basically telling him that this is a fight that he needs to stay awake for. He needs to be aware that this is no time to grieve. And just as he looks over toward All For One, well, the light from All Might's eyes fade, and the last whispers of One For All go as well. Izuku, though, he's mad, frustrated. He looks up at All For One as All For One is laughing, smirking. He thinks this is entertainment now, that he believes he's won. But no, Izuku stands up, and immediately All Might stands up as well. Izuku morally feels that this isn't right, but he knows that All Might would want him to do whatever is necessary to win, whatever is necessary to take down this monster. All Might stands up with holes in his chest, and as he does, they begin to heal, but All Might is still dead. But it seems that the spark in his eyes are in a way still there. Immediately, though, Izuku watches as a puppeteered All Might strikes down All For One and eventually taking him down. Izuku sits down on the ground as he looks at All Might's basically forsaken body, gone. All Might is dead. The number one hero has been vanquished, has been taken down, but All For One is down as well. Izuku takes the body of All Might out of there as everyone else arrives to basically take away All For One to bring him to Tartarus. Izuku brings the body back to UA to show everybody what happened, and tells them that many believe that All Might is still alive on the regard that Izuku was using him as a puppet. But All Might needs to go away, be cremated, and be put away for a long time. Let him rest easy, and Izuku doesn't want to ever do that again, especially to someone that has passed in front of him. Izuku is sad, mad at the same time as sad, and he doesn't know what to do. Aizawa tells him to never do something reckless like that again, but he says that he's proud of him. Something that a hero needs to make are choices that are extremely difficult, and that was an extremely difficult choice. He had to go against his own morals of using a dead body or someone that has passed, as a puppet. He realized he needed to do it to really need to do this to win, and that's what happened. He might have saved so many because of it. Izuku doesn't feel like he should be happy with himself, but he listens to Aizawa, hears him out. But that's about it. Izuku is in a state of somberness, is sad, and frankly, who wouldn't be? But nonetheless, Izuku has shown what he could do as a hero. He's shown what he has in store and what he's capable of. And frankly, there's going to be more to come, because there are things that Izuku has to look forward to in his future as a hero, even though his mentor, his role model, and the former number one hero has passed away. All Might be gone, but the will of All Might lives through Izuku, and he knows this, and he's going to continue that legacy, continue to protect, and continue to help wherever he can. But that is for the next part of What If Deku had a Puppeteer quirk. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.